Hello BookTube, Sarah here and welcome to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with another weekly reads. So thank you everybody so much for your nice comments on my last weekly reads video. I really do appreciate it. As somebody said, essentially all these are just a condensed version of my vlogs. So that's always great. We like when I can condense things. Because as I like to say, guys, I like to talk. So anyway, my weekly reads videos, in case you're new, I talk about all the books that I finished this week. I talk about what I'm currently reading. I let you guys know what digital books I have purchased in the last week, because I do tend to buy a lot more digital books than physical books. I do a physical used book haul typically once a month, but the digital books I tend to buy quite often because 90% of the time, 99% of the time, I end up buying them on deal or on sale. And I will talk about some of my knitting and my other crafting and just some general life stuff. So yeah, I don't think this video will be as long as the last one, but we shall see. So let's jump in and get started. Before I get into the books that I finished this week, I want to talk about one book that I did DNF. Because yes, I DNF'd a book this week. You guys know, if you've been watching me for a while, it's not something I do very often. I think this might be the first one in well over a year. Typically I do try to finish books, especially if they are a NetGalley or a review copy, and this was a NetGalley book, and it was the Palm Beach Wife by Susanna Marin, I believe is the author's name. I had high expectations for this book. I really wanted to like this book. I loved the cover of this book, and when I read the description of it, it sounded like a lot of fun, but I got about 15% of the way through it, and I could not pick it up. I had absolutely zero interest. So kind of the plot of this story is about these people that are extremely wealthy, and they live in Palm Beach, Florida. And at the very beginning of the book, you find out that the husband has lost all of their money in bad investments, essentially. And he has 1 month to get back $20 million before their friends find out. And that's the big deal. It's not that, oh my God, we have nowhere to live. It's more like, which house should we sell in order to get some of this money? And the entire part of the book that I read, the first 15% that I read, all they talked about were like designer labels of clothing or bags or shoes. And, you know, this is a segment that is like 0.1% of the population could empathize with in any sort of way. I didn't like any of the characters that I had met so far. And I just didn't care about, you know, their big problem. You know, again, this could have been a really good book. I really enjoyed the premise of it, of, you know, them trying to find a way to get back this money. But when it came down to being, you know, they're talking about the house in Aspen and the house in London. And, you know, the wife is saying we should sell the house in London. And then the husband's like, oh, but our daughter's going to realize that there's a problem. You've lost $20 million, your entire fortune. You know, there's a problem. You know, you should be more concerned about being able to put food on the table and stuff like that. But anyway, it is what it is. I'm sorry I didn't care for it. And I did put that in my review on NetGalley. And yeah, I didn't mark it as read on Goodreads because I didn't want it to list it as a book that I finished this year, because I didn't finish it. So I don't know how you guys work your DNFs. But I completely removed it from my shelves on Goodreads. So I don't think that even means that my review will show up, but yeah, so it is what it is. I guess, could I mark it as want to read and it would still show my review? I think so. So maybe I will do that, but just not ever actually pick it up again. So excuse me. So that's the one book that I DNF'd this week, but I did finish 8 other books. So I didn't do too shabby. Again, as I said last week, end of the month, you know, it's the end of the month is coming when I have a plethora of books that I'm finishing. Next month should not be so bad. I do not have nearly as many books to read next month as I did this month. So, you know, that's a good thing. There won't be, I don't like doing the scramble at the end of the month, but it sometimes does happen. So, you know what? It is what it is. It doesn't bother me. I enjoy it. I love to read, so it's not like it's a hardship on my behalf. So the books that I finished this week, and this is in order of me completing them. So the first book that I finished was Finding Perfect by Susan Mallery. This is a contemporary romance. It is book number 3 in the Fool's Gold series. It was narrated on audio by Tanya Eby, Published originally in 2010, average rating of 4.08 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3.5 stars. The thing with the Fool's Gold series is I loved the first book. Book 2 and Book 3 fell flat for me. And I honestly can say that I have not continued on with the series. Like, this is going to be my first time following through with the rest of the series because I do love Susan Mallery. But it just seems that books 2 and 3 just had too many things that kind of bothered me. In book number 3, the one I just read, this is Pia and Raoul's story. And Pia you met in book number 1. She was bequeathed, I guess, is that the word I would use, when her best friend died of cancer. So her best friend, very sad backstory, was married to a man who served in the military. And that man was killed in Iraq. And prior to him being deployed, they actually froze some embryos so that, God forbid, if something did happen to him, she could go ahead and have their children, right? I mean, I think this is something that potentially a lot of, spouses of service people think about, perhaps if that was to actually happen. And, so that part of the story in a way was believable to me. So then when this woman is getting tested to, receive the embryos, essentially, there was 3 embryos, she finds out she has cancer. And in the first book, she passes away. So now it's book number 3. And she has found out that this friend, I think the friend's name was Cheryl, has essentially left the embryos to Pia. And essentially for her to have these children, but never tells her that. Who does that? If you had a best friend, like supposedly a very good friend, that, this is a major thing. You are entrusting potential children to this person. Like, what was she supposed to do? I had such a hard time wrapping my head around this fact, that how a person could do that and not tell her. And then Pia's like, well, I have to have them. No, you don't. Just because they were left to you does not mean you have to do anything. Like, as someone who cannot have children myself, stuff like this really irks on my nerves, because what if she decides to have these kids? And, that's great. That's fantastic, and then something happens to her because she's had them. Like, not everybody has an easy pregnancy. Stuff can happen even in with our modern medical, knowledge. Stuff can happen during pregnancy and childbirth to people. What if once she has the babies, she can never have any more of her own? And I'm not saying that these ones wouldn't be hers, because I don't want to get into that whole philosophical discussion on it. But do you understand what I'm saying? Like, in this book, Raoul spoiler alert, she decides to go ahead and have the babies. And of course, all 3 of them get implanted, and of course she's pregnant with all 3 of them, because that always happens. And, like, what if later on down the road, like, her and Raoul decide to have kids, and of course damn well that they are going to have their own children, everything's going to be hunky-dory. But let's look at reality, that what if something happened and she couldn't have any more babies? She just had triplets. That does a number on a person's body, I'm sure. So yeah, I just found that part of the story so unbelievable. But I did really like the relationship between Pia and Raoul. I thought that they were adorable together. And, so that's what bumped it up to like a 3.5 star rating for me. Plus it's a Susan Mallery. She kind of almost gets an extra half a star because it's her. Which I know a lot of people like, you shouldn't judge a book based on the author. But, I don't know. It just... yeah, this one really, really bothered me with the whole not telling your friend that thing. I mean, if God forbid something was going to happen to me and I was going to leave my cats to my best friend, I would like totally warn her in advance. Be like, dude, I'm sending you the cats. You know what I mean? Like, to leave embryos, like, you are asking a person to take on a lot. You've got to not only make the decision to have these children, but then once you've had them, are you going to keep them? Because that's kind of a thing to think about. And of course, Pia's like, well, of course I'm going to keep them. And then now you're responsible for, feeding them, clothing them, putting them through school. Of course, you're going to love them. You gave birth to them. Again, I'm not getting into that whole philosophical discussion of, who the mother actually would be. But, but it's a lot. You're asking someone a lot to suddenly surprise somebody with. So that was my issues with that book. The next book that I finished was Love Lessons by Heidi Cullinan. This is another contemporary romance. It is book number 1 in the Love Lessons series, narrated on audio by Iggy Toma, who did a really great job with this. Published originally in 2013, average rating of 3.98 stars on Goodreads. I gave this one 4 stars. This one I read for Romanceopoly for the LGBT lane, which was to read a new adult, you guys know my thoughts on new adult, but we won't go there, on new adult LGBT book. And this was a male story, which I can say I have never read a gay romance novel. Guys, I love this story. I absolutely love this story. I thought it was adorable. Kelly and Walter are our 2 main characters. Kelly is a freshman in college, and Walter is 2 years older than him, I believe. And Walter's been living off of campus, and he found out that he no longer can, because the school actually doesn't like you to live off campus. They want you to live on campus because it's a very progressive type of school, very all, encompassing, very all, we love everyone kind of an idea. We're all one big happy family. The college is called Hope, so that should tell you something. And they don't like the idea of him living off campus, so they're pretty much telling him, like at the start of the school year, no, you have to live in a dorm, but there's no dorms available for the upperclassmen, and he left. Any that he wants to go into because, of course, he is out and gay. And so they tell him that he can room with Kelly, who's got a 1 room, like he's got a single, because it's got an air conditioner because he's allergic to everything. And so they end up rooming together, and then of course a relationship develops from there. It was adorable. Kelly is recently out of the closet, or has recently come out, I should say, excuse me. And he loves Disney movies, and he's looking for literally a Prince Charming, and Walter is so the opposite of that. Walter goes so out of his way to, show Kelly how much he cares about him. It was adorable. I don't want to say too much about the story. I encourage you to go read it. I got a copy. I actually bought a copy on Audible. I used one of my credits to get it. And I'm super glad I did. I will be continuing on with the series because it was so cute. The only thing I'm going to say though, and I did not know this going in, is that I have no idea what kind of other work this author has written and what kind of story she writes. But it said in the Audible, like, in the review, not in the review, but in like the back, where they tell you about the story, that this is a sweet story and not as spicy as the author's previous works. And I thought, okay, it's my first time dipping my toes in the water with this kind of a plot line, like let's take it slow and let's see how it goes kind of an idea. And I thought this is a good place to start. So I'm listening to the book and I'm like, what? There is a lot of swearing in this book. A lot. I mean, as someone who can swear better than a sailor, I found it a lot. And this is why it did not get a 5-star rating from me. The other thing is there is a lot of adult content. A lot. I mean, not safe for work at all. I was listening to it at the office on my headphones, thank God. And I'm like getting to scenes and I'm like, what? Like graphically depicting. So I am curious now what this author normally writes, because this was probably one of the more explicit books I have read this year. And they consider this to be a tame one from this author. So reader beware, essentially, if obviously if it's not your thing, but I outside of that, I enjoy, because that was well written. I'm just letting you guys know. It wasn't like, ooh, I didn't like that at all. It wasn't anything at all like that. It was very spicy, but it was very well written. And it wasn't demeaning. It wasn't anything at all like that, but it was a very sweet story. Like outside of that part of it, it was a very sweet romance between these 2 guys, and I really, really liked it. So kudos. I'm so glad I read this one. That's what I'm kind of really enjoying about the Romanceopoly, is that I am kind of dipping my toes into books that I wouldn't normally read. So yay, I really enjoyed this one, and I do recommend it. The next one that I finished was Bound by Duty, for something completely different. I read Bound by Duty by Valerie Hansen. This is an inspirational romantic suspense. Book number 2 in the Military Canine Unit series. Love love-inspired suspense novel 675. This was originally published in 2018. Average rating of 4.39 stars on Goodreads, and I gave it 3.5 stars. This one was fun. It was very edge of your seat, a lot of excitement. I read this one. This was not originally on my TBR, but Catherine from Jane Catherine on Books, for various reasons, was unable to participate in her own personal read-along that she's doing for March Mystery Madness. So Elizabeth sent an email out to all of us and asked if one of us would step in, and I offered to, because it is a Harlequin love-inspired novel, and I actually did have it on my TBR. I owned a copy of it. So I decided to jump in and read it. I do love these K9 unit series. So this is the story of Zoe and Link, and both of them are military personnel. Her brother is actually a serial killer, and he has been kind of looking for her. And so she's under police protection at the military base that they live at, because they're trying to draw her brother out of hiding to capture him, because again, he's a serial killer. And then she's got someone stalking her for something completely different. So Link and his dog Star, who's a Rottweiler, are protecting her and her little boy Tommy. Really good story, highly enjoyable. Like I said, a lot of action, a lot of excitement in this one. It moved. Like, this story really did move. The pace wasn't slow at all. It is the second book in the series. I have not read the first one, but I do now want to obviously go back and read the first one and read the rest of the series, because I do believe that serial killer aspect is kind of what is the overarching storyline between this little mini-series. So I'm very much looking forward to reading the rest of the books in the series. The next one that I read was Never on Sunday by Rita Rainville. This is a contemporary romance novel. It is Silhouette Romance number 706. This was published originally in 1990. Average rating of 3 stars on Goodreads. I only gave it 3 stars as well. This one was okay. I didn't love it. Don't rush out and read it. It's about a woman who, her name is Heather, and she opens up as she calls it, a fat farm. So it's essentially a spa or what have you for women to go to help them lose weight. It's a weight loss kind of retreat idea, but they constantly refer to it as a fat farm, which really kind of bothered me. I mean, even in 1990, I don't think that really would have passed mustard, but yeah, didn't love this one. The relationship between her and Mac was cute. He didn't own the home that she was using. The home that they were using, that they converted into this resort, was actually owned by one of her best friends. But he spent most of his childhood and stuff living there, but the home didn't belong to his family anymore. But the current owner kind of just let them come in and use it as a lodge if they were coming hunting or what have you. And so he's kind of resenting the fact that she's now turned it into this girly resort meant for women to come and eat healthy and lose weight. And but of course the relationship develops between the two of them, but I just couldn't get past a lot of the fat shaming in this book. Again, even in 1990, I think this would have been an issue. And I don't forgive books for their age necessarily. Sometimes it depends, but I like to think the 90s weren't that long ago. You know, if this book was written in like 1890, a little bit of a different story, but 1990, not so much. So yeah, didn't love it. It was okay, but yeah, not my favorite book. The next book that I finished was the last one that I needed to read for my own personal March Mystery Madness challenge, and this was The Perfect Bride by Kerry Connor. This is a romantic suspense novel. It is book number 1 in the Sutton Hall Wedding series, Harlequin Intrigue number 1421. This was narrated on audio by Alison McLemore. Published originally in 2013, average rating on Goodreads of 4.05 stars. I gave it 3.5 stars. So this is about a woman by the name of Jillian whose best friend was getting married at this Sutton Hall. She was actually going to be the first bride getting married there. And at the very, very beginning of the book, in the very first chapter, she ends up getting thrown off the balcony and she dies. The friend, not our main character, Jillian. And so Jillian has arrived at this Sutton Hall posing as a bride to try and find out what happened to her best friend. And of course, there's all kinds of nefarious things going on in this grand old home where they're hosting weddings. Adam is the gentleman who owns the hall. And he knows that Jillian's there for reasons, not that she's getting married. And there's someone behind the scenes, so you're getting part of the story from the actual killer's perspective, which is, I always find that very interesting. And, you know, pretty much the entire reason is because they feel that the killer feels that the brides are being less than true to their fiancés. You know, not perhaps really cheating on them, but they don't deserve to get married because they have these thoughts of other people or of other men. So yeah, this was a good story. Again, a lot of action. This is available as part of the Audible romance package if you're interested in picking it up for yourself. I liked it. I mean, it was a good story. This is the first one I think I've read by Kerry Connor, and she did a good job, and I did enjoy it quite a bit. The next one, Pale as Death by Heather Graham. This is a paranormal romance novel. Book number 25 in the Crew of Hunters series. I am almost completely caught up to this series. Narrated on audio, of course, by Luke Daniels. Published originally in 2018. Average rating of 4.09 stars on Goodreads. I gave this one 3.5 stars. So this is another one that is set in Hollywood, like the previous books. So the later books, what they do is they were kind of grouped into groups of 3. And it would kind of be like a 3-book little mini-series within the Crew of Hunters series. So these all take place in Los Angeles. And it's about these women who are being killed, who are, you know, budding actresses who are being murdered. And Sophie made an appearance in the last book, in the previous book. She is a LAPD detective or police officer. And Bruce is our male lead. And he is the brother of the guy from the previous book. So he has come out to kind of help Sophie. His brother said to him, you know, would you come out and help her out with this case and, you know, maybe do some investigating. He's a private eye. So, of course, the two of them develop a relationship. These books do have a little bit of adult content in them, but it is all, as I like to call it, behind closed doors. So if that's something that makes you a little bit, you know, apprehensive about perhaps picking these ones up, do keep in mind that those scenes are short and not graphic really at all. But yeah, so of course there is ghosts in this story. They feature very prominently in the story, that the characters can interact with these ghosts and the ghosts help them out with the case. And this is mimicking killings that happened back in the 1940s in Hollywood. The Black Dahlia is what they call it. So yeah, this one I enjoyed quite a bit. Not one of my favorites in the Crew of Hunters series. I almost find at this point that some of them are not as good as the original series, like the original books in the series. And that's something you often find with really long-running series. You know, I think of the Jan Ivanovich series by, Stephanie Plum series by Jan Ivanovich. You know, my mom has been diligently reading up until, like, I think we're up to book 25 or 26, and she keeps saying every time she finishes one, it's just, they're just not as good as the original, as the first ones. And I'm like, you don't have to continue. These I'm still thoroughly enjoying, so I still will enjoy them, or continue to read them. But are they as great as the originals? Maybe not so much. You're getting the odd one that's, you know, really good. But, you know, I still do love it. And I just love Heather Graham. And, you know, this whole paranormal aspect of it, I really do enjoy. Like, for me, it's like the X-Files, because they are an FBI agency. So that's what I always think is the X-Files when I think of this series. The next one that I finished was Jessi and the Superbrat by Ann M. Martin. This is a middle grade fiction novel. Babysitter's Club number 27. Published originally in 1989. Average rating of 3.55 stars on Goodreads. I gave this one 3 stars. When I recorded last Friday, this book hadn't come in from the library yet. When I got up Saturday morning, I had an email from the Toronto Public Library. Hey, your hold is in. So, excuse me, I've got the hiccups. So I read it this week. Obviously did not take me very long to read. These are middle grade fiction novels. They are relatively short. I tend to read a couple chapters every day, but this one I kind of flew through a little bit faster because I kind of knew who this Superbrat was, and I wanted to see if I was right, and I'm kind of disappointed because the ending of it was extremely anticlimactic. I mean, yes, again, it's a middle grade book, but, you know, that doesn't mean that you can't have, like, you know, a better ending to the story. So the premise of this one is about this boy named Derek Masters who moves back to Stony Brook, and he's a famous actor in Hollywood. Like, he's on this TV show for kids called PS 182 or something, or PS 162 or something, and it's about an inner city public school. So the show is wrapped and they've come back to Stony Brook, and he needs a babysitter. So Jessi is the one who ends up starting to babysit for him. And in the meantime, she is also auditioning to be in a production of Swan Lake. So those two, like, that's the A plot and the B plot kind of an idea. And Derek keeps talking about this kid named John at school who's, like, you know, throwing out his lunch and tying his shoes together and, you know, stomping on his homework and all these horrible things. And Jessi's like, well, you should really tell your teacher that this is going on. Oh, the teachers can't do anything because it's, like, off of school property kind of an idea. So, of course, spoiler alert, it turns out that, you know, Derek is the Superbrat, and he's kind of making John up, you know, to tell somebody what he was doing without actually saying that it was him, but no consequences came of it. That's what kind of bothered me at the end, is that, you know, Jessi, when she found out, didn't say, maybe we should tell your mother. You know, now because he was friends with all of these kids, I don't know. Didn't love this one. The Jessi and Mallery stories, like the younger babysitter stories, were never my favorites in the series. But this one, not that I was like, oh, I don't really want to read this one. I mean, these are easy reads. It's not taking me a lot of time. And I do want to read through the series in order. But I wasn't absolutely looking forward to this one. Let's put it that way. So, enjoyable enough read. If you're reading through the series, you know, pick it up for continuity's sake, but not a super fantastic kid story. And the last one that I just finished today is The Little Guesthouse of New Beginnings by Donna Ashcroft. This is a contemporary romance novel, published in 2019. It just came out earlier this week. Average rating of 3.86 stars on Goodreads. I gave this one 4 stars. This story was adorable. I absolutely loved it. This was Madison and Connor's story, and it takes place in a small island off the coast of England. And it is about a woman who has spent most of her adult life traveling all over the world. She lived in Thailand, and, you know, she lived in Amsterdam, and she moved to Australia and all these places. Her parents worked for the UN, so she grew up kind of traveling, and that's always been in her blood. But her home base has always been this island where her aunt and uncle own this like bed and breakfast type of a place. And what she doesn't know when she, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. What she doesn't know when she arrives on the island is that her aunt and uncle are about to sell, because her aunt has had a medical issue and they are losing a lot of business to this brand new establishment that has opened up on the island. This kind of full service, they have a pool and they have all these other things, these other amenities that the Hideaway, which is what her aunt and uncle's place is called, don't have. So she agrees to start teaching yoga classes and kind of, you know, doing things like that to try and drum up business. Well, in the meantime, she's back with, or not back with, but there's a boy, now a man, an adult, that she had a crush on when she was a kid, and of course the two of them are there together. He's actually doing repairs on the Hideaway, and his name is Connor, and he is very rough, very tough, very never smiles, not a friendly kind of guy, and she's like sunshine and roses, essentially. She's like unicorns and fairies and la 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 la, and he's like grumpy bear. So the two of them are very much in opposites attract, but it was super, super adorable, and I really liked it. Almost as soon as I started reading this book, I couldn't help but think about Maggie and Malone from Fools Rush In by Kristen Higgins, which is one of my favorite books of all time. And the characters were very similar. Like, Malone was very gruff and very quiet and very whatever, and Maggie was very cheery and very upbeat. And the two of them just work so well together. They are still probably hands down one of my favorite couples in a romance novel. But these two reminded me very much of them in a way, except Connor actually talked more than Malone did. Like, Malone, I think, over the course of the entire book didn't say more than 5 sentences, where Connor talks a great deal. But yeah, this was a delightful little novel. I'm pretty sure it's under $2 to get it on the Kindle if you're interested. A great summertime read. I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, so those are all the books that I finished this week, you guys. Enough of them, I know. So what am I currently reading? Oh, I forgot to grab my one print book. Oh, that's okay. I will have a picture for it up here, you guys. So the first book, the book that I'm currently listening to, is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Yay me! This is being narrated by Rosamund Pike. I'm only about an hour into it at this point. I plan on finishing it over the course of this weekend, but so far I'm quite enjoying it. The narration on it is amazing. Like I said, only an hour, so I'm not very far. I think it's almost an 11.5 hour long audiobook, so it's quite long, but I am enjoying it. My current ebook that I haven't actually started yet is Pregnant by the Colton Cowboy by Laura Lacombe. This is book number 3 in the Coltons of Shadow Creek series. This one and Pride and Prejudice are the last 2 books that I need to finish for the month of March, and I have the entire weekend to read both. So lots of time, so I'm super happy about that. My current print book, like I said, I forgot to grab it, my 40 Years of Harlequin book, is The Scent of Magic by Margaret Crittenden, I think is her name. This one I'm enjoying a great deal. It's a lot of fun. It's about a woman who got a magic perfume, and some guy has smelled it, and now they are kind of like falling for each other, and it's adorable. And then last but not least, my current Babysitters Club book, which just came in 2 days ago from the library, is Welcome Back Stacy, which is book number 28. So yay for Welcome Back Stacy. Stacy coming back to the Babysitters Club. She's been gone since book 13, I think. So She still made an appearance, and she had a book of her own, like where the babysitters went to go visit her in New York. But her and Dawn are kind of always been my favorite babysitters, so I love the fact that she's kind of back now, so that's kind of awesome. So yeah, so that is all for that. Before we get into my digital book haul, shall we open our next 40 Years of Harlequin book? It's right here. Short little book. 1992, you guys, because the one I'm currently reading is 91. So yeah, so let's open this one and see what we got. Show you guys this one first. Oh, it's a Desire. It's another Desire novel. Sophie's Attic by Robin Elliott. He's got nice hair, doesn't he? So let's see what this one is about, shall we? Sophie Clarkson's beloved father had been gunned down in the line of duty. Ooh, sounds scandalous. And when she becomes the killer's next target, her only protection came in the form of a ruggedly handsome, embittered agent, a man whose strong arms and rough edges made her feel safe, but whose seductive kisses put her in a very different kind of danger. Sorry. I would love to have the job to write for the back of these books. I think that'd be so much fun. For Agent Tyson McDonald, keeping a close eye on Sophie was easy. Keeping his hands off her curvy body was another story. I like that they state that she's curvy. We don't need to all be super skinny. If he had to lie, cheat, and steal to keep her from harm, he'd do it. But when she found out that he'd betrayed her, there would be hell to pay, and the love of a woman to lose. Oh, it sounds like it's going to be a good one. I love the ones with a little bit more intrigue and stuff like that in them. I think they're a lot more fun, so this one should be really good. So this one will be getting read this coming week. So that is that. Let me just kind of quickly go through my digital book haul, guys. I think I only got 10 books this week. Good for me. I will chalk that up as a win. But the first one, this made my day. I got the email about this one on Monday, and I was sitting in my car in line at Tim Hortons to get my husband an ice cap. And it was a long lineup, so I was checking my email on my phone, and I got the email for this, and I think I actually, like that, the guy behind me in his car kind of, like, looked up, like what was that noise? Like, was somebody's tires squealing? That's what it sounded like. But anyway, NetGalley approved me for this book. I asked for it. I thought, there's no way I'm going to get this one. And I got it, and I am thrilled. The Summer of Sunshine and Margot by Susan Mallery. I got the new Susan Mallery. It comes out in June. I am so excited. I will be reading this one in May. I cannot wait. I will be obviously doing a full review of this one on its own on my channel in May. So in May, my plan is with all of my my NetGalley books, because I've got 5 of them for May to read. That was kind of weird. 5 of them in May to read. I will be doing reviews on each and every one of them, and going forward, because I've had a lot of them over the last couple months and it's kind of difficult to do it, but I will be doing individual reviews on all of my NetGalley books on the channel starting in May, so do stay tuned for that. But yes, I was so thrilled to get this book. Yay! The new Susan Mallery. I still can't believe it. I'm assuming they made a mistake and they're going to be like, oh, sorry, no. But I've already downloaded it to my Kindle. So yay! This is going to be awesome. So what did I purchase this week? I bought, what did I say? Another 9 books, I think. So that was book like number 10. So these were all, of course, on sale, and the last bunch of them are part of the monthly, the Kindle monthly deals. So I'll let you know that the Kindle monthly deals run until Sunday night. So like up until like the midnight on the 31st, I think. But the first one is Curiosity Thrilled the Cat by Sophie Kelly. This is book number 1 in the Magical Cats Mystery Series. I believe this was a daily deal, and I saw it for like $1.99 or something, and I thought, oh, it's a cat cozy mystery. I must pick it up. The next one is Shield of Protection by Dana Mentink, I think. This is book number 0.5 in the True Blue Canine Unit series. This is a love-inspired suspense novel. Now, I talked about the first book in this series in my Harlequin Anticipated Reads for April. So this is the prequel to that series. So I have, I already know. I'm waiting for it to arrive, but I'll probably open it next week. But the book that won out of all the votes was that first book in the True Blue Canine Unit series for my 40 Years of Harlequin project for the end of the year for the April book. So I'm just waiting for it to arrive. I did order it from Harlequin, but I thought since I got that, I might as well get this one, and then I'll read the prequel before I read that book. The next one, this one came up on a daily deal. I couldn't believe it. Was it a daily deal? It wasn't even a daily deal. I saw this one on Instagram, and Eloisa James posted that this was on sale. Too Wild to Wed by Eloisa James was on sale for 99 cents, you guys. I highly encourage you, if you're on Instagram, follow some of your favorite authors, because they so often post that, oh, something has gone on sale. And you need that information, you guys, because to pick up this book for 99 cents when it's normally like $9, that is awesome. This is book number 2 in the Wilds of Lindau Castle series, so yay. The next one is, the next 2 are both by Samantha Chase. These both came up as daily deals on Wednesday or Thursday, I think. And one is One More Moment by, of course, Samantha Chase. This is book number 3 in the Band on the Run series. I've read the first book in this series, and I did enjoy it, so I'm looking forward to continuing on. And the next one is A Sky Full of Stars, again by Samantha Chase. Book number 5 in the Shaughnessy Brothers series. I have read a couple books in this series as well, so happy to get a copy of this one too. And the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books are all monthly deals. So if any of these ones interest you, they are still going to be on sale until Sunday night. First one, Second Chance at the Ranch by Maxine Maury. This one just looked like a cute little contemporary romance, but it takes place in Australia. So this is an author I'm not familiar with, and I thought this one looked like a lot of fun, looked adorable. Why not give it a try? Next we have The Accused by Jana de Leon. This is book number 1 in the Mystery Parish Family Inheritance series. It's a Harlequin intrigue, and this is a miniseries that takes place in New Orleans, which Boston and New Orleans, for some reason, are 2 cities that just pique my interest. I've often told my husband that, you know, if I didn't have the medical issues that I have and I didn't need to live in a country that has universal health care, I would happily move to the States, but I would go to Boston. It's like my home away from home in my heart. But New Orleans has always intrigued me, and I want to go. It's on my bucket list of places to go. Next up is One Intrepid Seal, by L. James. This is book number 1 in the Mission 6 series, and it's another Harlequin intrigue novel. And then we have Once Upon a Wedding by Joanne Ross. This is book number 1.5 in the Honeymoon Harbor series. So this is just a little novella, but I think it was like 99 cents or something like that. And I thought, Joanne Ross, she does some great work. Might as well pick this one up. And last but not least is another author that I've never read before, but I've been hearing quite a bit about on Instagram and stuff. And that is Tough Luck Cowboy by A.J. Pine. This is book number 2 in the Crossroads Ranch series. So this one looked really interesting. And again, for like $1.99 or something, you can't really say no to that. So, and I mean, you know, ebook deals are absolutely fantastic, and I love them. So yeah, so that is all I have book-wise. So let's jump into my crafting for the week and the other stuff. So what have I been working on this week? I have got some knitting done over the last week. Not a lot, but some. You know, not a lot of time at night, really. You know, pretty tired. But I did get some more work done on my sock. So this is my running through socks. The pattern is designed by my best friend, Brandy Miller. And it's a great little pattern. And the yarn is from Dreams and Fiber. And the colorway is called Halloween Town. But that's where I was last week, where my little ball here is. And that's what I got done. I have about 1.5 inches left before this sock is done. So this sock will be done this week. So obviously the heel's in there and everything. And I will have the second sock cast on next week, which is very exciting. So it'll be nice to have another pair of socks. Almost done. Almost 50% done. So that's exciting. So yeah. So I'm really, really enjoying working on these ones. And as I always show you guys the bags that they live in. This is my Supergirl Wonder Woman Batgirl bag that I love from Shop SoFlo. The next thing that got a little bit of love this week that I haven't picked up in a few weeks, but I did pick it up this week, if I make sure I grab the right bag, is the, what do you call it? It's the Northeasterly. And what it actually is a scrap yarn blanket pattern. Now I have a scrap yarn blanket on the go, but I love this pattern so much I decided to pick this up and cast it on. Then about 2 weeks ago I was talking to my friend Mandy, and Mandy said she's doing this, but she's turning it into a scarf. So she's just essentially going to do 2 long strips, and they're going to be attached together and make it a scarf, like a scrap yarn scarf. And I thought, yes, that's brilliant, because I do not need another huge scrap yarn blanket, but I still want to knit this pattern. So I've been working on this over the last few days, or last few weeks. So it's a little bit difficult for me to show you guys, but you'll kind of get the gist of it. I did all my, I wove in all my ends. Well, I wove in most of my ends the other day. So this is the pattern. So you get little, like you use your individual scraps that I have, and I have a lot because I get given a lot by friends, and I have a lot of scraps for my own projects. And you can really do this out of any weight of yarn. I'm using, of course, sock yarn because that's what I have the most of. But you'll see it kind of makes this like arrow pattern as it goes down. So I've got, this is still on hold. So the last time I showed you guys, I was like where this little fish is. So I've added that to it, and then I've started and I've picked up and I've started knitting, attaching the one to the other side. So essentially what I'm going to be doing is having 2 strips. So the scarf will be that wide, and then it's going to be roughly about 5.5 feet long. I think I have to do something like 54 of these individual little things. So that's 2 of them, just to show you guys. So that's 2 of them. So this is going to take me a little bit of time, but that's okay. I think it's going to be really fun, and to have this like really scrappy scarf to be able to toss around your neck, I think it's going to be super duper fun. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So in the pattern, what they tell you to do is, when you're done like a section and you're going to just work on like attaching the other side, is to put this on scrap yarn. I thought, no, I'm going to be constantly going back and forth. I wasn't going to mess around with scrap yarn. I just thought I'd leave my double point in there, and I can just pick it up and knit on it when I'm ready to pick it up and knit on it. But yeah, so far I'm really enjoying that one. I want to get down to like at least down here and then continue on a bit more on this side and then build it up on the other side too. So yeah, so this one has been a lot of fun to knit on. And you guys got to see the bag. So quick story. How many years ago has it been now? I think it was 2 years in February. 3 years in February maybe. We lost Logan. Logan was my other cat, Gorn's brother, my big guy, his brother and litter mate. I got them both as kittens. They were able to fit in the palm of my hand when I adopted them. The ad was on Kijiji, and I went and a guy had these cats, and I took them both because I couldn't just leave one. So it was Gorn and Logan. Gorn, of course, named after Detective Robert Gorn from Law and Order: Criminal Intent, and Logan named after Detective Mike Logan from the original Law and Order. Yes, I'm a bit of a Law and Order fan. Bernard is named after Detective Bernard from Law and Order. And anyway, when Logan passed away, I mean, I was devastated because it was shocking and last minute. But I had a friend, Brandy, who is the most amazing person ever. And she commissioned this fabric and made me these bags. That's the Logan, and that's the Goran, and that's the Logan and the Goran. I have a big sweater size bag, and I have this little bag, and I'm like, yes, it's going to live in here with the orange interior, which is my color. I love the color orange. So yeah, so I had to show you guys that bag and just give you the quick little backstory as to why I have my cats on a knitting bag. But clearly that is why. That's my Logan, my Muppet, our Muppet. The Schmexican, as we always called him. Garrett's nodding his head. So yeah, so I love this little bag. Anywho, so that is that. And the other bit of knitting, I've gotten quite a bit of knitting done over the last few days. Living in my big sweater bag is, of course, a sweater. Yay! I have been knitting on my Uncomplicated this week. I've decided one sweater a week. So for the whole week, I will knit on just that sweater, and then I will pick up a different one the next week, and slowly I will make my way through these things. So this is Uncomplicated by Alicia Plummer. It is just a basic pullover sweater, and it is being knit in Knit Picks. Knit Picks. I got the thing in here instead of me just trying to guess. Knit Picks Stroll Tweed, which is a sock yarn and a tweed yarn, as you can tell by the little bumpies in it. It still reminds me of a strawberry. The colorway is called Garnet. So it doesn't look like I'm very far, but guys, this is super thin yarn. So this is taking me a while. There's close to probably 250 stitches on the needle. So I'm going around and around and around, 250 stitches. So that's where I was the last time I showed you guys. So I've gotten quite a bit done. I've gotten a good 2 inches done. This is going to take me a while, but it is literally just knitting around and around and around at this point. So it's really not difficult. It's just taking a lot of time because the yarn is so thin. So I've got the sleeves on hold, and that's pretty much what it's going to look like. So yeah, so far I'm really enjoying it. And then the very last thing to show you guys is my cross stitch. A lot of you guys seem to like seeing my cross stitch last week, so thank you for that. I got quite a bit of work done. Not quite a bit, but I got a bit of work done on this one. I've been really enjoying working on this. It's kind of nice to have a different project. Almost like using a different mindset when you're doing it. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of understand people moving from crochet to knitting or what have you. It like works a different part of your brain maybe. And different muscles in your, like, in your hands and stuff as you're crafting. So this pattern is called Samhain, and it is by the Witchy Stitcher. She is on Etsy. I will leave a link to her shop in the description box below. So that, I am almost done, you guys. So last week I had all of this done and I had just started on the broom. So I've now completed the broom, and I've completed the pumpkins and the jack-o'-lantern because of course he's got a smiley face, so he's a jack-o'-lantern. And down here I have started the candle. So there's gonna be a candle that goes up behind the S. And then I just have to do a little bit of back stitching here on the broom and then on the S, and I will be done. So my goal is to get this done this weekend. And once it's done, then I will be picking up a World of Warcraft stitch pattern. It was a 5-pack that I bought from the Witchy Stitcher, and my husband is a huge Warcraft fan. He's been playing Warcraft as long as, probably way longer than we've even been together, and we've been together for 10 years next month, or in May. So he's been playing it forever, and when I showed him the patterns, he kind of went, would you make those for me? And I said yes. So they're small, slightly smaller patterns, but I'm gonna intersperse them between these Wheel of the Year patterns. So I'll do, you know, I'll finish this one, do one of those, and then I'll jump back and do the next one in this series. So yeah, so I am thoroughly enjoying knitting on this one. It's been a lot of fun, and yeah, I can't wait to get it done because I kind of love it. So hopefully I'll have it finished to show you guys next week. So anyway, that is really about it. Very quickly, real life stuff that you know, kind of happens. Pretty boring week, not terribly interesting. I ended up having a massive migraine on Wednesday, and I stayed home from work because I just couldn't handle it. I had the headache on Tuesday as well, but by Wednesday I was kind of like, yeah, I'm over this and I need to sleep. So I kind of just had a really relaxing day. And that's really about it. The only other exciting thing is that on Thursday, baseball season started. Go Red Sox! Oh, hold on. Excuse me. What's on here? Excuse me for reaching. How very rude of me. Go Red Sox. Yes, guys. It's a little dusty. I need to dust in this house. My house is lived in. Don't judge me. This is a Scentsy warmer. Like the wax melts because we can't burn candles in my house because Gordon's got the asthma. He's got the asthma. And so we burn the Scentsy because it's the smoke that bothers him, not the scent. But I burn the Scentsy things, and my mother actually bought this for me for Christmas last year. So it is a Red Sox baseball cap, and it sits on my side table. So I should burn that later. But yeah, so go Red Sox. I was so disappointed last night. I watched the game, and we lost. Badly lost. 4-12. I'm like, I really hope this is not an omen for the rest of the season. But yes, of course, I will be watching baseball all summer long, so I am super happy that it's back. But anyway, guys, that is it. This video has been super long. I did not think it was going to be as long as last week's, but I think it is, judging by my time. But I will talk to you guys in my next video. Videos coming up this week. Tuesday, I have a tag that I'm going to do, and then on Thursday is going to be my month-end wrap-up and stats, so that's always fun. And until my next video, guys, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.